Hey, yo, how's it going? SixftHax here. Have for y'all today the draft analysis for draft number 2 of season 5 of the APA. So we are done with our first 4 matches, which was our first draft. I went over the rules on the first draft. If you guys want to go check that out real quick. But yeah, we are moving on to the next 4 weeks, which are weeks 5 through 8. And then this will be our second draft. And then weeks 9 through 12, we will get a third draft. And then hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully the Durham Druddigons will be able to make it to playoffs, because if y'all been keeping up with things, we've been doing a little bit rough. So hopefully we can kind of balance out for the rest of the season here and hopefully sneak into playoffs, I guess, or just like barely make it into playoffs. So yeah, there's still a chance we can make playoffs. So we'll see how draft number 2 here will help us. If you guys do enjoy this, hit that thumbs up button down below. Let me know what you guys think about our second draft. And I will be completely honest with you guys right now before I show you the first Pokemon, that this draft is a little bit odd. I guess, to say the least. Like, you'll understand by my first pick here. So originally drafting order was gonna go off by standings. Unfortunately, that didn't really work out, so we got randomized and I got number 12 out of 16, which really sucks because everything I wanted I knew was going to go right before it got to me. Like, before it got to me, I was like, okay, maybe I'll get Garchomp or Jirachi. And like 2 picks right before me, sorry. I was like, I'll either get Jirachi or Garchomp, that's fine. Both go, and those were like the absolute last things that were there that I wanted. Now, I guess I could have got something a little bit better, but in my opinion, there was nothing else that was worth getting round 1. Because I more or less kind of knew what I wanted to get round 2. So, because I wanted to secure this Pokemon, I decided to get a round 1 only because if we make it to playoffs, I didn't want to chance this thing not getting back to me for whatever reason, and everything else was gone already. Because I would have got this round 2, but oh well. So I decided to go with Hawlucha. Never draft this first, guys. Never draft this Pokemon first ever. Again, the only reason I drafted it first was because I wanted to secure it. I knew I was going to get a round 2 anyways, and there was literally nothing I wanted round 1, or that was a round at all, and I was like, hey, let's just go with it. So I got Hawlucha round 1 here. I guess in terrain, we already know what Hawlucha does. Like, Hawlucha Koko is very, very notorious in draft league format, and it does the same thing with like Bulu and Tapu Fini as well. I guess by itself, I'm not too sure what it does. The stats aren't entirely that bad, and in a format where it's NEZ, I still think that's kind of decent, because even though, yes, it does have Unburden, it still has Limber and Mold Breaker, which in their own rights are not entirely too bad. So yeah, plus with it being super speedy, this is a Master Revenge Killer. This gives me a Defogger as well as just a late game sweeper in general, because we do also have access to berries to activate our Unburden and Acrobatics and just let Hawlucha potentially put in work. So yeah, I'm excited to use Hawlucha. Will never draft this round 1 ever again in my life, and nor do I recommend you to do it. So moving on to pick number 2, I went with Weavile. I didn't really know what I wanted pick number 2, because originally I was going to get Hawlucha round number 2 and then my tier 1 round 1, but yeah, things switched around and I got Weavile here on the way back. I figured that if anything with Weavile, I can deal with Psychic and Ghost types, so I can just spam my fighting moves, and Hawlucha might be a little bit more valuable. Plus another really good speed tier here, solid priority. Plus Weavile is a Pokemon I've actually never ever drafted. I've drafted Sneasel like 2 or 3 times, decent mon, but I've never drafted Weavile. So yeah, excited to use Weavile because, again, another new mon, and hopefully it'll prove its worth these 4 weeks, man. Like, we gotta pop off these next 4 weeks with this draft here. So moving on to round number 3, I decided to go ahead and get good old reliable Miss Nidoqueen here. I absolutely love Nidoqueen. This is probably one of my favorite draft league mons here. Of course, everybody knows what Nidoqueen does. I don't really gotta say too much about her. She's bulky, she can be offensive. I've used her as a Scarf set. Shouts out if you saw my GBA D League season match against ItzGator, Scarf, Nidoqueen, the Greninja counter, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, Nidoqueen, awesome mon, great versatile moveset, fire, ice, thunder, all that stuff, and rocks. Most importantly, rocks and T-Spikes are also really cool. So pick number 4, I went with Metagross. Metagross, another cool mon I've always wanted to use, but I've just never got around to doing it, and this time I was like, screw it. We're going to go ahead and get Metagross as our Steel type. And I've heard a lot of good things about Metagross. Hopefully this also puts in work much like our Weavile. This gives us another very, very solid, reliable stealth rocker, as well as a sweeper with agility. And it can also be mixed. Thanks to the fact that any Pokemon can be Z, this makes Metagross a little bit more threatening, I think, because if I do run like a mix set and my opponent doesn't expect it whatsoever, then I could get a surprise KO and just steamroll with this thing. So super excited to have access to Metagross for these 4 weeks, and if it proves its worth, I may take it over to playoffs instead of Bronzong. So moving on to pick number 5 is another Mon that I feel like I use very, very well, mainly because it's Alomomola. It's just, to put it best, it's kind of a brain dead Mon, really. And it's not a bad thing that it's kind of brain dead. Like, it's so easy to use, but at the same time, people have to fear the fact that there is a way that it can be abused to be set up on. So obviously people need to kind of deal with that somehow, and I feel that most times people don't tend to deal with that, so maybe they don't like Alomomola, but it is just a very easy Pokemon to use. Most of the time all you're really going to be doing is wishing, protecting, and switching, and then clicking Scald. That's literally it. Like, if you play Alomomola well enough, or if you make your team well enough, a setup Pokemon should not be able to take advantage of Alomomola, and then that'll just prove how immensely annoying it really can be. So yeah, excited to have Alomomola, but I really wish that I had got Vaporeon, but it is what it is. We'll just move on. So at pick number 6 is another Pokemon that you guys have seen me use a lot in the past, and that is good old Shaymin, as you can see here on your screen. Very, very huge fan of Shaymin. I honestly want to say Shaymin is probably my favorite grass type of all time in Draft League format, although Tangrowth is slowly taking over that position. But Shaymin is an absolute monster. Something I'm hoping I get to really use is Swords Dance Shaymin. I really want to use Swords Dance Shaymin one of these 4 weeks, hopefully. So we'll see how that goes. Gets access to Tailwind, and most importantly, Healing Wish. Healing Wish is amazing for Weavile, Metagross, Nidoqueen, even Hawlucha, and potentially any other offensive Mon that we are able to get here. So yeah, of course you know what Shaymin does. It can pivot, that can be offensive, Scarfed, Specs, hopefully Swords Dance, you never know, but we'll have to see. So moving on to pick number 7. This is going a lot faster than I had expected it to go, so I don't know. Do you guys like the faster draft analysis? I kind of like the more in-depth ones. I don't know. We'll just see how this goes. But yeah, so pick number 7 here, we have probably one of my all-time favorite Pokemon that's recently grown on me, and that is Noivern. If you guys saw my P4G championship run, Noivern was the hidden gem of my draft, dude. I did not think Noivern was going to be anywhere near as good as it was. Then again, that was tier 3 and below. But now Noivern has to compete with tier 2s and tier 1s, but hopefully Noivern will still be able to put in some work, especially because of its ability Frisk. I made an entire video about Frisk. I really think this is just such an amazing ability, and hopefully it will be able to help us out when we have Noivern these next couple of weeks. Also, Infiltrator is really nice because it could threaten your opponent to not want to bring substitute Mons, and that's actually what pairs up really well with Alomomola, because with Noivern having Infiltrator, I can easily bring that if I'm worried about something being a sub setup set on my Alomomola. So that should be pretty good, I think. Next off, we have Blaziken. At this point in the draft, I realized that I can honestly just kind of get anything I want. There's not really any way somebody else is going to take my Mega. There's also no way somebody could get another tier 3 or tier 5, I think. It was one of those two, or it was something like that. But I knew that at this point I wanted 5 Mons, but if I could only get 4 of them because one was a replacement, that was fine. So luckily it was not this pick right here, Blaziken, but I really wish I had waited out on Blaziken so I could have got that Mon that I initially wanted, because I really wanted one of the Lycanroc forms, but I didn't think they would go this round. I thought I could wait for them and get them round 9, but I should have waited to get Blaziken round 9 because I'm pretty sure nobody would have got it anyways. So I could have got Lycanroc, and it's annoying, but it's fine. So yeah, we got Blaziken here as our 8th round pick. this Pokemon is a monster. I feel like Blaziken is very overlooked in a lot of aspects. Like, yeah, its speed is really not the best. Like base 80 could be a lot better. I'm guessing if it was like maybe base 100 at least, it would be able to be brought a whole lot more. But the thing about Blaziken is that its offensive prowess is so good. This thing has a Scarfer is really nice. It gets access to Vacuum Wave, which makes it as a revenge killer also very solid, and could also potentially save you from getting swept, because that's happened before with Blaziken. This thing is a monster. It gets access to so many types of setup, and the reason why this is also so great is because it gets access to Baton Pass. And if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but we can Baton Pass speed alone or any stat but speed. And Blaziken gets work up, it gets bulk up, it gets Sword Dance, agility. I don't think it gets Calm Mind, but it does get work up, right? Yeah, so it gets work up and bulk up, Calm Mind, agility, Sword Dance. Like, if it comes down to it, I can also just use this as a mon to pass stats into any of my offensive setup sweepers that I have in that match. And that in itself is also really great. This also does give us another defogger, which is super nice. Now we have Hawlucha, Noivern, and Blaziken as our defogger, so that's pretty solid hazard control, I think. And outside of that, I don't think there's really much else to say about Blaziken. This is a beast. If you've seen this being used in draft format, you will know that in certain matchups it can definitely go in. So moving on to our round 9 pick, I decided to get one of probably my all-time favorite Pokemon, and I honestly want to say this is like top 5 of my favorite Pokemon. I don't know why, I love Tauros, dude. Tauros is such a monster, man. It's an amazing Pokemon. I really feel like it's one of the best tier 5s out there. While its stats may not look that impressive, it does have Sheer Force, which is really nice because this in itself is a Life Force boost, if I'm not mistaken. So that's just amazing. Plus, Intimidate also has decent matches where it can be brought. So I may be bringing that in certain games for our few weeks here with Tauros. So we'll have to see how things go. But because of Sheer Force, even though it does have a base 40 special attack with Life Orb, it can get some use out of that base 40 special attack. And that's not me saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna be bringing like a fully specially offensive Tauros. No, I'm not gonna do that, because I know that that would still do 0. So I'm gonna bring maybe Fire Blast sometimes, even Thunder. Who knows, man? We're gonna get crazy with Tauros potentially. Also, in season 3, the season that we won, Tauros was actually voted our tier 5 or the tier 5 MVP, if I'm not mistaken. Was it tier 5 or tier 4? I really think Tauros was tier 5. But yeah, it was awarded the tier 5 MVP, so that's pretty cool. So I get to have it again, and I'm excited for that. So moving on to our second to last pick. Again, at this point I could just get my Mega last, so I didn't really need to get it. And because I wasn't able to get my Lichen Rocks, I decided to just go ahead and get Tauros and see what else would be left when it came back to me, because I was basically forced into getting a tier 3. You're mandated to get 2 tier 3s. You need 2 tier 3s no matter what you do. So I only had 1 tier 3, and literally all the other tier 3s were horrendous, dude. There was like nothing left whatsoever. And I decided to get Porygon-Z. Like, some people might say, oh, well, wait, Porygon-Z is really not that bad of a Pokemon. Like, yeah, I can do some work here and there, but the thing about it is that it doesn't really fit anywhere on, like, this is the sore thumb sticking out of this team, I think. Like, this team already was not that great, but I feel like doubling up with Porygon-Z might not be the best. I guess I get, like, a normal spam core, and I do have Weavile to Pursuit Trap Ghost types. That's pretty good. And then Hawlucha and Blaziken can deal with Steel types, but still, I don't know. Well, we'll see how Tauros plus Porygon-Z does. I doubt I'd ever be bringing both of them in the same game, but you never know. So yeah, Porygon-Z, pretty cool mon, I guess. I've never really faced it in format, nor have I really seen it do much of anything. Like, it gets Nasty Plot, it gets agility, recovers pretty cool. Bulb Beam coverage is always great. And again, I guess with it being any Z as a Zmon, then this thing could also be a really good surprise Zmon as well. Maybe even being able to run a mix set with base 80 attack and download, because you get the +1 in attack, and then Nice, hold on, what was it? It learns, I know it learns, what's it called? Last Resort, right? I'm pretty sure it learns Last Resort. Z, Last Resort, +1 adaptability. Oof, GG. So, yeah, I guess some cool things you can do with Porygon-Z, but either way, we'll see how it does. Maybe it'll surprise me, maybe it won't. We'll see. So moving on to the final Pokemon. At this point, I think you guys have been able to tell that we have no Fairy type. I have no Mega, so I need to get a Mega Fairy type. And the best one that was around, and the one I ultimately decided to get, was a Mega Gardevoir. Never have I ever used Mega Gardevoir. I've never used Mega Gardevoir ever, but I've seen it do amazing things in certain people's hands, like Gypsy King. Oh my lord, dude. He uses Mega Gardevoir like a monster. It's crazy. So I'm hoping that I can use Mega Gardevoir and that it will put in work for me. Hey, I could Baton Pass Workup or Speed Boost with Blaziken into this, and it's GG. So yeah, like it hits pretty hard. Base 130. Oh, I mean base 165. Special attack with Pixelate, Hyper Voice, obviously doing a lot of damage. Get some really good support moves actually. Destiny Bond, Healing Wish, Disable. I think it gets Encore, Memento. That's crazy. It learns. Wait, what? Yo, I never knew that Gardevoir learned Shadow Sneak. Hold up. Yo, okay. That might actually not. I mean, it's base 85. Like, come on, it's better than Porygon-Z's, but hey, you never know. Maybe we'll bust out the Shadow Sneak Mega Gardevoir. I don't know. That would be pretty cool, I think. But yeah, that's Mega Gardevoir, Trick Room, Thunder Wave, just Confuse Ray, I guess. I don't think we can break Confuse Ray, actually. But yeah, I can do a lot of things. Has a lot of great support moves. Decent speed tier, base 100, solid split def, bulk, and yeah, that is our draft, guys. So I know it's really not the best. Obviously not the best draft ever. But it is an interesting draft, and it's a draft that I still have faith in that will hopefully get us out of this slump that we are in, and then we can hopefully get into playoffs when everything is said and done. So with that being said, hit that thumbs up button down below. Let me know what you thought about the squad, and I will see you all tomorrow with the team builder for week number 5, which is the first week with this team. So yeah, team builder for that on Friday, actual battle on Saturday, and yeah, later, everybody.
Cause my brain and heart are both tied in the knot, and this hinders me from crying a lot. This causing me to show no emotion. But when I said I cared, I wasn't joking. But I guess it's too late for me to become broken. For now, I'm living with no more pain, tears, or hoping. I'm just coasting. Yeah, I said I'm coasting. No more pain, tears, and hoping. For real.